first, see, nobody had a script, or nobody knew anybody had a script for No Time for Sergeants. Maurice Evans had the rights, but he didn't have a script. Didn't have anybody who knew how to make it into a play. So he was about to let it go. And I called over to Mac Hyman's agency and lied and said I went to school with Max, and they gave me his phone number, Mac. So I called Mac Hyman up and I asked him if I could I didn't go to school with him, he went to Duke. I asked him if I could do a monologue based on his book. And he, like he should have told me, said, call my agent. And I went to see this man, James Brown's his name. And he was letting me down easy. He said, Dandy, you have to know this is a #1 bestseller. It's been on the bestseller list for 10, 15 weeks. He said it's going to be a play, a movie, and a television show. Nobody in that town knew about the television show. I don't know how that happened, but nobody knew about it. The Theater Guild had it for the U.S. Steel Hour. I was the first one there. And how things happen, there was a lady in there waiting for somebody. And she heard me talking. I didn't read well because I didn't know how to read. And she said, what do you do? I said, I work nightclub. She said, you sing? I said, no, I talk. She said, what do you talk about? I said, oh, Shakespeare, Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, opera, ballet. She said, Hamlet, do you do it? And I said, no, I tell it. She said, well, how does it start? Well, I started it. And the guy who I was reading for went out and brought some people in with him. Sounds like a bad B movie, but it's true, it happened. And as I went along, each one of them would go out and get somebody else. By the time I was finished, the room was full and I had the part. And the director didn't really want me because I had no experience. But we got along famously. And it was when the show it went on live, you know, ABC. And when that little red light went on, what they decided to do was to bring an audience in. So they put in bleachers and brought in an audience. Well, we didn't rehearse at the studio. I don't remember much about the studio. We didn't rehearse there. We rehearsed at some kind of place where they taught boxing. And we had marks on the floor for sets, you know. And we came and read the play, the script, the first day, and then we were supposed to learn it the next day. Well, I already knew it. I didn't let anybody know that I already knew it, but I did. And so the second day, instead of learning the play, I went over and met Maurice Evans and Morton DeCoste, who was the director of the play. Our 11 had done the adaptation for television. Ira and I were both hired before the television show ever went on the air by Maurice Evans to do the play. Yeah, I didn't care for the way it finished. See, the way the first act ends, they only went to the end of the first act in the television version. The way the first act ended was Will had worked up something for the captain. And in the book and in the play and in the movie, what that was, he stomped his foot and all these toilet seats came to salute, full attention. But they were afraid of that on television, and they had this thing that was rolling crepe, you know, that stuff that you throw on the streets in New York. And that's the way they did it. But it still was a big hit. And my name was in papers all over the country. I felt great. I now was no longer afraid of New York. And I had my confidence back, and I had some skills, you know, at it.